Today, we're going to dive into one of the most fundamental things about being human, intention. It's that invisible architecture that builds our entire lives, the hidden process that turns a simple thought into an action that can literally change the world. So yeah, let's get right into it.
I mean, think about it. We all do this every single day. You think, I should probably do that. And then somehow, you actually do it. But what is going on in that space between the idea and the act, right? How do we build a bridge from what's inside our heads to the reality outside? That's the big question we're unpacking here.
So what is intention, really? Well, at its heart, it's where three key things collide: our thoughts, our feelings, and our will to actually do something. It's not just one thing, it's this powerful combination, the literal architecture we use to consciously write our own futures. And that's a pretty profound idea, isn't it? It means we are truly the authors of our own stories.
Okay, so here's our game plan. First, we'll look at the big picture, the architecture of action. Then we'll get into the spark that starts it all, belief and desire. After that, we'll see how foresight and strategy create the map, how will and resolve provide the engine, and finally, how it all comes together as purpose in action.
So, to really get a handle on this architecture, let's use a pretty cool metaphor: the spiral of intention. Now, this isn't some simple to-do list. Think of it more like a dynamic, upward-moving process. Each step builds on the last one, creating both momentum and a clear direction. And here are the 5 core steps of that spiral. It all starts with a solid foundation, which is belief. Then you inject it with energy, and that's desire. After that, you get your bearings with foresight. You give it power with your will, and it all finally leads to action, the physical manifestation of this whole internal process. All right, so let's see how this spiral actually gets built. It all kicks off with 2 things that really light the fuse: belief and desire. Seriously, without this initial spark, an intention is just dead in the water. First up is belief. The best way to think about this is as the rational backbone of your intention. It's the mental framework, the scaffolding that holds it all up and says, yep, this is possible. This makes sense. This is worth doing. Belief is what turns a simple daydream into a rock-solid conviction that you can actually go after. But, belief by itself is pretty cold. It needs a power source. And that's where desire comes roaring in. Desire is the emotional fuel. It's the passion, the energy, the drive. I love this phrasing: belief informs, but desire ignites. You absolutely need both, the logical structure and the emotional fire. And here we've got a really crucial difference to make. You see, desire often just wants immediate satisfaction. It's that I want it now feeling. But there's a deeper kind of energy called longing, which is more aspirational. It's not about the quick fix. It's about a deep search for ultimate fulfillment, for meaning. And this gives our intentions a much heavier, more powerful pull. Okay, so we have the spark. We have the fuel. Now what? Well, now we need a map. This is where the whole process shifts from that raw energy into conscious, careful planning, using these incredible mental tools: foresight and strategy. Foresight is basically our mind's superpower to time travel. It's how we run these little simulations of the future in our head, right? We weigh different outcomes, we imagine the consequences of our actions, all before we even make a move. It lets us pull a vision of the future into the decisions we're making right now. So if foresight gives us the destination, strategy gives us the turn-by-turn directions. Strategy is the tactical arm of our intention. It takes that big, abstract vision and it breaks it down into concrete, step-by-step things you can actually do. It's the bridge from what if to, okay, here's how. So, we've got our spark, we've got our map, but a car with a full tank of gas and a GPS is just going to sit in the driveway without an engine and a driver who's committed to the trip. And that's exactly the role of will and resolve. Will is the absolute heart of our personal agency. It's the power of choice itself. It's that uniquely human thing where we can look at all the inputs, our beliefs, our desires, our plans, and make a final decisive choice. It's the moment you just declare, let it be so. And if will is the engine, then resolve is how tough that engine is. Resolve is what keeps it running when the road gets rough and full of potholes. It's that moral steel that gives our intention the strength to push through challenges, failures, and all kinds of resistance. It's the grit. And all of this, every single step we've just walked through, it all leads to this final, critical stage: manifestation.
This is the moment where the entire inner world we've built finally becomes visible on the outside.
Action, or what's called yield here, is the ultimate proof that an intention was real. It's the point of contact. It's that amazing moment where all the internal work, the believing, the desiring, the planning, the willing, finally intersects with the world and becomes something tangible.
And this brings us to a huge difference, the difference between what we do and why we do it. A goal is a specific target, right? Like, I want to run a marathon, but the purpose is the why behind it, to prove to myself I can do hard things or to raise money for a cause I believe in. Purpose is the big story that gives our goals real, lasting meaning.
So let's do a quick recap of this whole beautiful spiral. Belief gives us the reason, the why this makes sense. Desire gives us the fuel, the I want this. Foresight shows us the path. Will makes the choice to get moving. And finally, action makes it all real. You can see how each one plays its own, absolutely vital part.
I just think this is such a poetic way to put it. It's saying our actions aren't just random movements. Our intentions give our actions a shape, a structure, a geometry that's defined by our deepest values and thoughts. It's movement with a design.
And this might be the most powerful idea of all. This whole process, this spiral, is how our thinking, our cognition, literally becomes our destiny. What starts as just a tiny thought in your head, once you pass it through this architecture of intention, can end up defining the entire course of your life.
So, in the end, this spiral isn't just some cool psychological model. It's the very engine of our freedom. The ability to consciously go through this cycle, to choose what we believe, to harness what we desire, to plan our future, and to will it into being, that is the very essence of what it means to be a free, self-determining person.
So, as we wrap this up, let's go back to that very first idea. If intention is the architecture we use to write our own futures, then the real question for all of us is this: what future are you consciously, deliberately, and intentionally authoring right now?